argument against watching porn. I think that my generation, I'm 29 now. I know I look like I'm 50 with this bald head of mine, but I'm 29 now. And my generation was the generation that basically was the first young teenage generation to have access to porn. And in when you're a young man, when you're a teenage boy, it's like you got a rocket ship attached to you. And it's something that's really hard to control. That urge is really hard to control. And obviously, like, everybody did it. I mean, everybody I knew did it. And looking back, I wish it wasn't as normalized and popularized as it is, because I think now it's become so aggressive. It's everywhere. You can't open any app without just everything being overly sexualized all the time. It's really frustrating. I don't like watching movies anymore because there's just always somebody naked in it, like for seemingly no reason. It doesn't add anything to the story. It's just there. It's just it's like gratuitous nudity is what it is, and it's very frustrating. I kind of can't stand it. You go on any social media platform, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, I don't use those, but you go on them every once in a while. I mean, I post clips from this podcast on those platforms, and it's like you just get hit with it the second you turn it on. It's like naked woman or barely almost naked woman, and it's really frustrating. And I think that the culture has become so sexualized, and everything just like we're just a bunch of atoms floating through space, and who cares? Like this is not dehumaning to the woman. Like a woman that's so dehumanizing to the woman, it makes me sad. Like these women, it makes me actually genuinely sad that they are just dehumanized like that. That they think their only worth is their body, and it's too bad because like they could be worth so much more than just flesh, and men are treating them like that, and the men are dehumanizing themselves by treating the women like that because they could come together and create something beautiful like a child or a happy life, but instead their relationship is just very bad for both parties. Like everybody loses. It's very dehumanizing. So there are actually some stats. I looked into this. I don't watch porn. I haven't watched porn in a very long time, but I looked up some interesting facts about it. And the most interesting one is that if you stop watching porn, you stop, the thing with yourself, it can actually increase levels, like increase energy levels, and actually increase productivity, which I think is interesting for this channel, especially. It's like a big productivity guy. Obviously, I love all that stuff. And I thought that was so funny. It's like, oh, wow, it can actually make you more productive. So there's some real science behind it, not just the fact that it's embarrassing, it's dehumanizing, and it's everything that you shouldn't do in your life because you're treating yourself. It's an undignified way to live doing that, and you can't even look at yourself in the mirror. You don't finish the video. It's a very dehumanizing way to live. You're embarrassed, you're ashamed. I was reading some Reddit threads about this, and the people who are intensely addicted to it, they have problems with erectile dysfunction, which is just mind-boggling to me. Like, how could a teenage boy have trouble with erectile dysfunction? Man, I remember being a teenage boy, and it was like, you couldn't even walk it. Like, anyways. And so I think that it's really bad, and the culture tells you that it's not really bad, and it's probably the worst thing that you could do, in my opinion. It's almost like, I'm not saying being addicted to drugs would be better necessarily. Obviously, some drugs are so bad that they will kill you, but it's almost as bad as that. I would say it's equal to any drug addiction you could possibly have, because it will ruin your life and it makes you miserable. I saw some people saying that like they couldn't even look people in the eyes before, and then they stopped doing it, and they had this confidence. They held their shoulders back, head high. They could look people in the eyes. And I think that when you start to add all that stuff up, it's like, just stop watching it. I promise you, it will make your life so much better. It'll probably save your life. It'll bring you closer to the person that you were made to be. Porn is in the way. So I've heard some people say that it's an addiction. I've heard some people say that it's not an addiction. I am kind of in the belief that it can be an addiction. I don't see how it couldn't be an addiction. I think that if you feel this intense urge to do something, and everything that I've read and everything that I've seen, I really believe it is an addiction. And so you have to break it like any addiction. And that's not to say the onus isn't on you. It's on you. Like, if you don't do it, if you don't stop watching, then you never will. Like, it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to break your addiction, break your habit. So I have 8 things, basically 8 ideas that I wrote down on how I think you could stop watching porn, and I think how it'll make your life a lot better. The first one is figure out why you feel this urge. So get down to the root of it. right now, just take a minute to write down like why you feel like this, put it out into the world. It's not enough to think things in your head. You have to actually, we are physical beings as much as spiritual beings, so you have to actually interact with the world. So write it down, say it out loud, because until you do that, it's not true. It's like I'm a big believer in praying out loud, because until you say it out loud, it's like you don't really mean it. If you just say it in your head, it's not that it doesn't count, but until you say it out loud, it means a lot more saying it out loud, because we are a physical world as much as we are a spiritual world. Next is that understand no matter how quote unquote normal it may seem, it is ruining your life and it is making you miserable. You have to identify the things that make you miserable in your life. It might be a short little hit that feels good in the moment, but ultimately throughout the rest of your day, throughout the rest of your week, it makes you miserable. It's not worth the short term benefit or whatever. Nothing ever is. To get a short term high for long term negative consequences, it's never ever worth it. I promise you, you will never wake up and go, I am so glad I did that last night. I feel so good about myself now. I'm going to really attack the day. It's a disgusting thing to do. It's a dehumanizing thing to do, and you're better than that. I promise you, you're better than that. The third thing is, if you ever do feel the urge to watch it, just like any addiction, do something. I would suggest like praying or reading the Bible. You can download any like a Bible app if you want to have it on your phone. I know a lot of people don't like physical things anymore, like actual books. So you can have the app on your phone and just read something from there. Or you could do something that's positive. If you don't believe in God, you could do something else. Like I think that you need God behind you to do this. I really do. I really believe in that. Just like any addiction. I'm also a Christian, so I'm a little bit biased, but like you don't have to necessarily do the things that I say to do, but instead of praying or reading the Bible, just meditate or just take some steps away, get rid of the phone, put it down, go for a walk, do something else. Like just do something else that takes your mind off of it. It's like any addiction. Like you don't keep alcohol in a home. If you're an alcoholic, you get rid of the alcohol. So you have to do the same thing. You have to purge your home of those types of things. Which brings me to number 4, which is if like TikTok or Instagram or any of the hypersexualized social media platforms trigger you, delete the app. I think that you are absolutely causing yourself an undue and unnecessary amount of harm just by having these things on your phone. You say that you learn and you do this, you do that. Just delete the app. I know that Apple, I don't know about Android. I don't use Android, but I know Apple has a way for you to actually restrict what websites you can go to. So do that. Like just restrict the website. Set a code, a screen time code, whatever it may be, or have somebody else set it for you so you don't know what it is, and just block the websites that you should be blocking. And that way you can you start to remove the alcohol from the house. That's basically the idea. Is if you're an alcoholic, remove the alcohol from the house. If you are addicted to porn, remove the porn from the house. That's basically what you're trying to do. Next is understand you do need to quit. Your life is actually worse because of it. Remove all the triggers, downgrade your phone, restrict your internet usage and which sites are allowed, and pray for the strength and hope to guide you. And the last couple I wanted to leave you with is put your faith in God. Do that. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, through God who strengthens me. And then John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that so whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And it's when you put your faith in Christ, he will be there for you. I promise you. So I know that it's hard. And I know that life is like, it's hard. It can be very difficult working through life, and I promise you, just trust me on this one.